How you doing?
Good, man. This is my buddy Martin.
Hey Martin, how are you?
Martin
Not
Beaver.
too bad, bro. How are you? Good. Good. Let this little monster.
Yeah, let Norm out.
Let's see what's up, Norman.
Come on, Norm. Hi. Hi.
Yeah.
Hi.
And this bike here was built before American Chopper. All of a sudden they came out with that cave spike.
Yeah.
Whatever it was.
Spider webs.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I was telling Guss on the way up here that you had it before they did. Yeah, long before. So as far as the bottom end goes, Guss, this back one's not bad.
Yeah.
And the front one is. And what I want you to do is take your fingers and go that way, back and forth.
Oh yeah, I can feel that. Yeah.
You know, it's not an overly amount,
No, but it is some.
but it is some there. So I've got this hole fixed with the one that had the gouges out of it.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Look at that. That's the Crankcase Breather Hole.
That's right. Yeah, and it was all scun up, had the big ridges
Okay.
all the way around
Very
it.
good.
So I've done that. On the case, I was curious to do it, to see if I could do it with get no chips in the motor.
All right.
Even if we were tearing it apart, I wanted to try it and see.
Anyways, yeah.
See for future reference, because
Yeah.
they say you can, right?
Yeah,
But it's
yeah.
pretty tricky back in there,
Right.
trying to keep all the chips out of it.
Right.
Since we've talked about pulling the bottom end anyway, I'm going to try to fix the hole on this side with my Jim's tool. Now Jim says you can do it if you're careful and keep the chips out of the motor, and I'd be most interested to see just what it'll do. I've never done one on the motor. I've done many of them off the cases, so I know how the tool works, but keeping the chips out of the engine will be the trick. But we're going to try it anyway, and the motor's solidly mounted there in a nice position, so it's a good time to try it. So follow us along and we'll get at it. So the first thing I'm going to do is cut myself some strips here. And I just want them for putting inside the engine, just in the bottom of it. And I'm going to cut a long one that I'm going to shove way up inside as far as I can. I'm just leaving a little piece of it hanging out. Okay, that one's a little small. Okay, we got my little pieces here, so we'll go over on the bike and put them on. I'm going to take some of these small pieces, and first I'm going to try and get some of that out of there. We found something to plug up the little cam hole when we're working in there, and we want to keep dust and debris out of it. And it's a pretty handy little rig. It's one of these little nuts that goes on the bottom of a gas tank, and you see them when a new gas tank comes to you, and they got rubber in them like that to keep the dust and stuff out. If you peel them apart, when it comes out, you can see there's a little step on it there. With that little small step, it'll fit right into our cam hole here. If you just press it all around, that's seated right in there. So that'll keep the dirt and stuff out of it, so while we work along with the rest of it. Okay, I got a couple of little pieces cut here that I just want to put in here now. Tuck down in there. Try to keep the upper part of the bearing that's exposed there. Nothing can really get in there, but I'm going to stick it in there anyway. So I don't know if I can do this or not, but I'm going to try it. I'm going to see if I can stuff this back in the hole, fill it, more or less work it down into the compartment. Like that. Just keep working it down slow. Get it right down into that area, but I don't know if I need that much. A little too much to deal with there. So we'll just pull some out. Just kind of pushing it down in that cavity. And very carefully work that edges back in there. Here we go. And there is a ridge actually down in the bottom. So we're going to try and keep it away from that material down in there. So now we're going to get our Jim's plate here ready to go. I'm just going to put a little light bit of oil on the shaft there while we're getting it ready. This is a pretty precise piece of equipment, so you're awful careful with it. This piece is countersunk inside. Very tight fit, snug fit. And that fits right up inside of the plate. So now we can put this on the motor. So we'll start by lining up the shaft on the dowel pins. There we go. All right. Okay, so now we're going to try to drive the reamer down inside of it and enlarge that hole 30,000ths of an inch. Pauline's here helping me. She's going to give me a hand and try to vacuum any chips and that out of it. But I've got it plugged up pretty good in there, so I'm hoping to see how it goes. So we'll give it a shot. You can tell me if you see the end of the reamer starting to show up in the hole.
I'm seeing
Something?
bum.
Okay.
Sort of flying out.
Yeah, you can't see the reamer yet there, no?
No.
Let me just try and shoot some fluid in there, huh?
So,
Just pull that out for just that's okay. That's okay. The tap is full of it. Okay?
okay.
You good?
Yeah.
So as you start to see them there,
See what?
chips.
Let's see. Yeah.
Okay, let's give her a little vacuum there. Just let me cut a little bit.
Okay. I believe.
And keep an eye on it. Just keep an eye on what you see there. They're not going to blow around. I'm just going to push them ahead. So, but we should be starting to see that reamer coming.
I think I am starting to see it. It's really metal plowing too, that's for sure.
Okay, let's give that a little suck.
There's a bunch.
Yeah.
Are you gonna vacuum that while you're pulling it, or are you just gonna pull it out?
I'm just going to get right out of the way. Okay, give her a little vacuum.
So is that a jig you put on here, or?
Yeah, it's a Jim's jig. It lines it right up on the pins and it's supposed to line the hole right up.
Oh, it looks like it did. Let's see. Oh, look at the columns in there.
But I've put a rag in there.
Oh, look.
Yeah, I've put a rag in there to try and stop them.
Uh-huh.
Looks good though.
So are you finished with me?
Yeah, that's great.
Okay.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
You know how to work the vacuum?
No. Press the button on the top.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, honey.
Okay, dear. Thank you.
You're welcome.
A lot of chips in there. Alright. It looks like I might have to just go a little bit deeper on it. Sometimes not sure how deep to go there. A little 30 thou over gear now. Yeah, we're close, but I'm probably about 1/8 of an inch short. So we're gonna have to take a few minutes to kind of gear things up again and get it set up so that I don't get chips down in there. And I'm gonna try and take that little bit off of it and see if we can just get it in there nice and easy just to clean up that last part. So now I just gotta clean all the chips out of this big reamer. then we're gonna have to put it back on, and hopefully it's on right dead on the pins. Try to ease it on in there to take the last little 1/8 of an inch off the back side. So we're just gonna check our depth on the hole there, and I'm gonna run some vernier calipers down inside. Right back at the very end of it, there's a very small little ridge there that I don't think I'm down deep enough yet. We'll zero out our calipers. And we'll take a measurement down to the ridge. And now we can see on our breather gear the depth left to go. I'm going to check it one more time, and then we're going to put the cutter in it. So yes, we're ending up with like that much to cut back down in there. So we've got to go in and cut that a little bit deeper. Okay, plug that deep hole. I think that it's just not leaving enough down at the bottom for the reamer to go all the way. So that's it, hopefully done to depth now, and it should be right about where we need to be. There. Now, I think we'll pull that little rag out of there. I don't feel any down in there. And now our small gear now is seating on the shoulders where it should in there. So it's got its room to play. And there's no binding up at all. Gear just spins freely in there. So 30 thou breather put in the thing, and that'll save that. So one oiling problem off the list. We'll move on from here and keep ripping her apart and see where we're at. The piston's got a lot of clearance in them. You know, as I did kind of breezed over, but they will be out on the next video with a lot of stuff about how much, but you were like 5/1000ths of an inch clearance.
Right.
And they should be 2.5 to 3.
Is that right? Okay, so we'll have more clearance.
The problem being, now, I shouldn't call it a problem, but something that some people are not aware of is that there's I always say there's so many parts and so many different pistons and so many different things like that.
Yeah.
Even those pistons, let's just say, had something different about them.
Right.
They were a 2800 series, what they called them, from S&S.
Yeah.
But they made 2 different.
Right.
And the 2 different was the difference between street riding, basically,
Yeah.
and racing.
Right.
So the racing side, the clearances would be up to like 4,000, 4,500.
Right.
But on your street side one, maximum was 3.
Oh wow.
So it should have been like 2.5.
Right.
And it was just a small thing in them. But and I had a hard time finding them because they're obsolete.
Yeah. Like
You know
the
what I
cam.
mean? Had to go through stuff to find the settings and find the information on them.
Yeah.
But that could be some part of what went on there.
Right.
So today I've had time to look a little deeper into these pistons that were in this bike. I've cleaned the top off, and I was hoping to find some sort of markings, but I didn't. But they are S&S forged pistons, as I see written inside. There is a casting number, but I can't really find out much information on it. And this is still, this kit applies. S&S will say which side they want it on, but I'm sure it's the right side. And I would guess by measuring these that they are 20 thou. Most pistons, a lot of the big pistons like these, S&S, Wiseco pistons, etc., always come with their pistons at different sizes. Wiseco will tell you it's the size you should have for that. If your bore should be this if you're using these size pistons. For example, if you're buying a standard piston for your bike and the Wisecos, a standard piston is 3.498. Now Wisecos will tell you they should be 3.947 the bore, and then start with like 1 thou over at 9.8 and etc. etc. So their pistons are bored undersized quite a lot, just so that if you have a stock bore bike and you want to put them in, their pistons will pop right in without you boring it. But if you're going to a fresh bore, you need to know what size you have to have, and we have to do the manufacturer specs to be sure on that. So now I've been working on some measurements and some calculations to see where we're at and maybe what happened with this. All I could figure is that these are probably 20 thou over pistons, which are undersized, and they were looking for probably a 3 thou clearance on them. You know, so you'd be 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. We're still way over. We're the 3 thou and over. The interesting point on the S&S forged pistons is that the 2800 series had 2 different types of pistons, and their amount that they wanted, the clearances and such, were different than many of the other pistons or the updated ones. The only way to tell how they were different was by looking in the oil groove on these, and there's actually a slot in there if you can see the light through it. But that slot designates that it's an early one. You know, the other piston, which I don't have one here, but they actually has holes in there, and this is in behind the oil expander ring. Those 2 different pistons will give you different sorts of readings. The one with the slotted oil hole, like we have, they're saying a close fit is at 2.5 to 3 thou. A close fit. Loose fit, 4.5 to 5. And we're at 5. We're out there. I can't see anybody going that far unless they were going for the 4.5 to stay on the other side of it and thought they were going to break it in really fast. I don't know. The number 2 style piston, if they happened to get rings and it didn't distinguish what was what, or they didn't read the instructions on it, they wouldn't know that they have a totally different spec. The ones with the hole in the oil grooves, they start at a close fit at 0035, so 3.5 thou to 4 thou. That's what they call a close fit for those. So I'd have had to have been 13, 14, 15, 16, maybe 17. And a loose fit at 5 to 6 thou for a loose fit. In any case, the specs were wrong to go by. If you were looking at 3 to 4 thou on it, the specs were wrong for these particular pistons with the slotted oil ring holes, and they would call for less. So it's very, very, very important for you to check your pistons, check your manufacturer's specs on it before you start doing anything with it. Look and see what they're at. You know, what they say they want for clearance. Also, don't bore your cylinders until you got your pistons in your hand, or you'll be disappointed, and it'll be a very big mistake in some cases if you're wrong and you haven't calculated exactly right. That's why I always wait to get the pistons. Then I can measure them up in my own feel and say, there, that's what that is, and we know how to fit them. All right, just a little bit on S&S forged pistons there, but something to watch out for, especially with these early machines where you're seeing things like this. I had to look down through the list of obsolete part numbers, you know, or changed part numbers to even find them. And then you had to look through and find all the charts and find the specs for those. They're out there, you just got to dig and find out. But I think we're going to go with some Wisecos in this anyway, because I've used them many times and I'm really happy with the performance. But that explains a lot about the clips in it. That explains a lot to me, knowing now that they're actually S&S forged pistons, and something went wrong. This kind of galling and tearing up of the pistons is usually a sign that the engine has not been broken in properly. It could have built up a lot of heat for some reason. I don't really know why exactly, but that is a sign of galling and improper break-in. A lot of guys get on them way too soon and they're not paying attention to their oil pressures and everything else. And many times, fool them with the carbs, fool them with the carbs, fool them with the carbs, running it, getting lean situations, and then something like this can arise pretty quickly. And it's sad because it was an expensive venture and put together well and an S&S bottom end, but a costly mistake on it there. Just not the right clearances and the improper break-in procedure for sure.
And this brake mechanism's got to be.
Yeah, well.
Holy shit.
Ooh, yeah. Holy shit, yeah. You said to me, and I'm going to ask you because you said you wanted to be a little more involved in things.
Yeah.
You just want to know about what's going on. Is that what you mean?
Well, yeah.
You want to take, for example, you want to take that brake and fix it?
Yeah. What
I
do I
got all
gotta
the
do?
parts for it. I can show you.
Yeah.
You know, we can take it apart here today. It won't take a few minutes. I got everything ready.
Yeah.
And it's something you can take and work on if you want to. So while we got Gus up here today, we're going to make him do a little bit of work and get his brake off the back so he can have a look and see what sort of things got to be done there.
All right, so we got to do a little brake work. This is no good. Imagine riding down the road with that. There's some kind of a mechanism spring, but Ralph's got a thing, a way to fix that up.
I'm going to put Gus to work.
Uh-oh.
So just hit that big one, take it off. There we go. These here, they're going to be loosened off.
Okay.
Right off. Okay, how's it coming, Gus?
Good. We're going to bang that through?
Didn't plan on getting your hands dirty
No,
today?
it's fine. It's fine.
Undo that brake line.
Okay.
It's great putting Gus to work instead of me. You want to be hands-on? Get your hands on
Yes,
it.
buddy. Yes, buddy. I'll do the job. Hey, I'll do the job for you for like $50 an hour. If you're helping, it goes up to $100 an hour.
There you go. But you're not helping me now. You're helping yourself.
Yeah. Well put. So I lowered it down a little bit just so it's just really touching.
Yeah.
Take some weight off
So
the
we're just
axle.
gonna tap the axle.
Yeah. And then that'll slip right in.
If you get too much weight on it, then you'll fall down.
A little bit.
Just take it over there. That's good. There's good. So we can just pull that out.
Okay. This should come out.
That should slide right off.
Man, she's some sloppy. Holy
Yeah.
crapola. Wow.
Inside, a long ways. They should be, I dug these out so you could kind of have a look.
Oh yeah, look at that.
They should be sitting up like
You're
that.
at the top. Yeah.
So you can see how far. And I
far
actually
down?
dug an old one out here so you can see one that was ground way down inside.
Oh wow. So
Now-
does that tell you they've been done a few times?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's
But what you
right.
can do is put oversized valves in.
Oh yeah.
There's a couple steps up of oversized valves that you can
Yeah.
do to bring that back up.
Yeah.
Because it's down so far, your valves are sticking way up through the head.
Right.
You know what I mean? When they go through here, they're sticking up this really high,
Right.
and they're supposed to be a certain height. And right
Right.
now they're really high, which means your spring pressures are not what they should be.
Okay.
I think we can salvage those no problem, like
Oh,
that with,
that's good
with the
news.
oversized valves.
I was waiting for you to say, ah.
No.
I got a set right here for you.
No, I think the oversized valves will bring it back into place
Excellent.
there.
Excellent.
Regrind the seats and such. So that's the basis of the heads and stuff like that. That's why I wanted you to see it, get a comparison to look at.
Right,
Because
right,
a
right.
picture's worth 1,000 words.
Yes, it is.
You know, I can explain that to you, but if you're not getting it, and
No, I
you know what I
understand.
mean, it kind of goes right over. But that's why I dug these out to show you
Yeah.
how it should be upright.
Happy?
Yeah, that gives you an idea where you're going. Like I say, this is one of my bigger worries was that hole,
Yeah.
and I'm glad to have that fixed.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes,
That's
very
it.
much. What are we
You
going to
see that?
say about cam? We never talked about. We know we need a cam.
Yeah.
We know we're going to go mild or medium to mild.
Yeah. You can go
How
one
many
more-
different choices do you got?
Well, there's a few different choices. The choices really depend on where you want to use it. I try to use stuff with a short, what they call a shorter duration on it, because most of your driving is around town.
It is, and it will
You know
be.
what I mean?
This is not a highway.
Not that you can't go on the highway,
Right,
but you know,
right.
if a guy's got a shovel and he wants to go on the highway,
Yeah.
put a 48.2 sprocket on it.
Right.
That'll lower your RPM later on the highway. So some cams leaning more towards the higher end,
Yeah.
and some in the mid-range. And I think just like even an A grind, I don't even know if you go to a B.
Yeah.
It's hard to say with what's in it. I'm going to put a set of Wiseco's in it, so you're going to
Yes.
have a high compression piston in it. You know what I
Yes.
mean? You're going to have all that end of it, so you can have a cam that works a little bit better.
Sure.
A little bit
I
taller.
don't want to be able to kick it.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't want crazy compression.
I'm
I
hoping
can't
that it's
kick
going to
the
be all
friggin'
right. It should be. They're
Yeah.
a little more fussy with the electronic ignition in them.
Right.
That sort versus the other ones that are on weights.
Oh, yes.
You know, the early style,
The early
because
style.
that retards itself.
Right,
The
right,
weight ones,
right,
where
right.
the electronic ones are not so much.
Right.
That they count on this.
Yeah. Well, I also want that too, but
Yeah.
you know.
Well, we'll
cold
try
water.
and see. I'll get as close as I can. I'm not saying it won't work at all. I'm just
No.
saying that that's what they usually say from one to the other, just
Yeah.
because of the way it works,
Yeah.
right?
We found out that this bike doesn't have an oil filter.
Right.
And in the early days with the horseshoe tank, the oil filter was in the tank.
Yes.
So would it make any sense to get rid of this tank and put a tank here with mounting holes that can be mounted, seeing as this is not mounted, with an oil filter? Would that be a smart thing to do? Or do you think a remote?
I looked for there's a nice little bracket here that's 150 bucks, but they're not available right now, that puts the oil filter on top and the thing on the bottom.
Regulator?
Yeah, and they mount off
That'd be
the
good.
front here.
That'd be good.
There's also, I dug this out. This is another choice.
Right?
Okay, this bolts inside of this plate,
Okay.
and your regulator sits on.
Oh yeah.
Okay, it's down low like
Yeah.
that. So then you're just looking at the oil filter assembly.
Yeah.
Like Sean makes some remote ones and things like that. The oil tank is something you can do, I guess, with mounts. Try to figure something out with it as you're playing with
Is
it.
something broken?
There's nothing there. They just put the oil tank in and let it hit. You can see where it's just hitting on the fender. That's the only thing that's holding it up other than that rubber bond.
Right. Yeah, I can do something like that. Yeah, I can.
Just a bracket in the back. Like I said, once you get your fender off and stuff, figure
Yeah.
what you're gonna do with your spacing or your bolts, it'll
Yeah.
be off, and then you can get right at it.
Okay. Made a post a week ago or so about my decals that I got made.
Oh yeah?
And the guy said, "Oh, I've known Ralph for years, and I want to buy 5 of them off you." And he sent me an e-transfer for $10. And he said, "Just drop them off at Ralph's. I'll swing by Ralph's and get them." So there's 5 for, I can't even remember who it was.
I'm gonna put them right there because they'll come in and ask for them.
And there's a couple for you, my friend.
Good.
If you want them. And there's a couple for you.
Oh geez, just like Christmas.
Yeah.
I've been watching.
Merry
your,
Christmas.
Oh my goodness, look at that.
I've been
PMC.
watching your channel ever since he told me he was coming out
Oh.
here for
Yeah.
to have the work done on his bike, right?
That'll hang right off that
Yeah.
freaking key right
Yeah.
over there. Bang around.
I started trying to make a bunch of those, seeing how small I could get my plasma cutter to cut.
You did good.
Like fine cutting.
Look at the points.
Yeah. Took me a long time. I was a little bit anal about it when I first started working with it. Saying, how
Oh.
fine? Because I kept saying, you can't go that fine with plasma. And I said, yeah, if you pay attention to your tips and your temperatures and I did down to cutting that small. Guys go, you don't cut that with the plasma tables.
That's very, very good.
Yeah. So we're just going to give a shout out to you there at Hippie's Chopper Corner. We know you're watching us both. Gus has the shovel. All the best to you. Keep at it. Well, I enjoy it when people come and they take the time and have a look at things, and I'm able to say, well, look at this and look at that, and compare some things and possibly show you some new things that are good, and to point out a little more where the bad problems are. I think everybody should be involved in their bike and know about it instead of just where the start button is. Having him come up and being able to show him the different things, it picture's worth 1,000 words. So I hope that he learned a little bit today, and I'm sure he did. And sometimes when guys take things apart like that brake and say, oh, well, you just gotta do that and do that, do that. Sometimes guys can do it, sometimes they can't. I don't begrudge anybody anything, and everybody should be able to work on things to their own capability. It's when they try to go beyond that, that's when they get in trouble and they start breaking things and ruining parts. But don't let that deter you from trying. It's all about working on your own machine and enjoying it.